Well, hello. Every gal needs a cowboy hat.
Scanning the room, you look for a familiar face. Everyone is a stranger. Your heart's racing, you feel nauseous. New plan. You meet 4 new people. Okay, 3. 2? You can handle 2. And then you think, I hate this. This just feels so fake. And before you talk to even 1 new person, you're looking for the nearest exit.
Okay. Crazy. Yo, who invited this chick?
My heart races when I walk into a room full of strangers too. Except it's not anxiety, it's excitement. I'm not thinking networking quota. I'm thinking, look at all these stories. And I get so pumped about talking to people that I don't know.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Gonna get this party started. Woo! Well, it's not a Saturday night, but we are getting the party started. Welcome, everyone, wherever you are from around the world or locally. So my name is Gail Robertson, and I'm with GailNow, and I help manufacturers tell their stories. As a recovering journalist, I bring an unfamiliar and fresh approach to this industry. And through storytelling, well, that's where there's an opportunity to look at things like how we can change things from difficulties into opportunities, and also how to start sharing all of the great news that people in manufacturing really need to share. And so curiosity celebrates innovation. And I also use curiosity as part of my 3-step process, where you can sign up, suit up, and show up. And show up we will today with our guest. Nathalie Gregg is someone I met through Twitter. We met actually online there. Then she invited me to be a guest on her show, on her Twitter chat show, which is called #LeadLoudly. So I encourage you to show up there. Join in. It's Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Nathalie is someone who talks about leadership. She's going to be sharing some of her ideas. She wrote a book, Leading in Stilettos. So whether you're leading in stilettos, whether you're leading in running shoes, well, this is someone you're going to want to hear from, because she's, at times you might think she's rather soft-spoken and sort of sits back. She listens, she observes, but wow. She is a powerhouse. And before we bring her on, I think we need to show Nathalie a little respect. Woo-hoo! Here we are, Nathalie. Welcome.
Thank you, Gail.
Well, this is exciting, and we'll start right off because I know we're so grateful to have you. We're getting a little bit of the background noise, but why don't you tell us where you are to give some context to that?
Okay, I am in my hometown of Marion, South Carolina, and we're broadcasting live today from the Ground Out. If I can turn it this way, and you see the sign in the back. And the amazing founder is Liz. She's a female owner who is revitalizing the small town of Marion, South Carolina, which is about 40 miles outside of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
Wow. Well, thank you for joining us. I know with your schedule, and I'm so happy that you're able to take time for us today. So at times, I know they're running a business. So if we need to take a little break, we will just do that. And if not, we'll see if, and we are live. So that's what part of being live is, that this is, and you're the real deal. So before we get into what we're going to talk about today, can you give a little bit of context other than you doing the Lead Loudly chat, which is phenomenal? Can you give a little bit of background about what you do? And then people can follow you on LinkedIn and learn a little bit more as well.
Sure. I consider myself to be a consultant, a coach, and also a performance strategist. I've always been fascinated by why some brands and some individuals actually catch on fire and why others kind of sort of fade to black, and kind of looking at what are people's strengths and also how do you maximize those. Lead Loudly is the hashtag for women to be bold, confident, and fearless. So that is the Twitter chat side. I am also a social media evangelist for Twitter as well as LinkedIn. I actually use both of the platforms in tandem to create a culture for women to be their own economic engines. And I am leading loudly today in the Ground Out, supporting that as well. So it's all things girl power.
You know what? And as a former journalist, what I like is actually, instead of being in a perfect sound studio, I kind of like that you are living your brand. You are supporting a small business. You are there taking part. So that's why we talked about that, about your location. I said, let's go for it, because this is real life here, what we're talking about, right? And this is what we all have to. And as you know, a lot of women in particular do have to function at different levels, at different places, and not everything is always perfect, right? So
that's true. So thank you.
So the other thing is, let's start with a fun story, because we did start with the respect song, and thank you for taking part in our promo, because now I do that as part of my promo. I do a TikTok style video promo where we have a little fun, and you did a tremendous job of the lip sync, because lip syncing on TikTok is that's the key way to have success there. So tell us the story of why you chose respect and how far that goes back.
Respect goes back to about me being 5 years old. And when I would get upset with my parents, I would stand on top of the piano stool and I would bellow out respect, RESPECT, find out what it means to me. And it's so interesting that was really considered the first song of the women's empowerment movement. And Aretha Franklin actually recorded that song on February 14th, Valentine's Day. And my beloved father passed away on Valentine's Day. So it means so much to me in so many different ways, because right after he passed, that's when I wrote the book, Leading in Stilettos, because it was the first release of my passion and my love for business and women's empowerment.
Wow, that is such an amazing story. Thank you, Nathalie, for sharing. I didn't know the whole story of that. I do want to also mention to those people tuning in, very grateful to people that always come in to listen live, but I know some people also come and listen to the replay. If you are listening live, please drop a comment. Please say hello so we know you're out there, because I will bring a greeting to Nathalie from the comments that are appearing. I do want to say a thank you to Ray Caldwell, Creative Growth Strategist. He says, Yay. Super day to you all. Yay. Woo. So thank you, Ray, for joining us today. It's always exciting. We also have Chris Hart joining us live. Hello, Chris. So yes, thank you to everyone. Please also, connect. This is while you're listening, you can also take time to connect with people in the chat, because obviously if you're coming to listen here today, you probably have a connection with with us as well as the other people in the chat. So great opportunity. As you know, talk about storytelling, but also networking, the power of networking. Obviously, how Nathalie and I first met was through virtual networking. So that is great. We also have Inger. Inger is doing double duty. She does some show production work in the background and is commenting. Inger is definitely a woman who leads loudly in her own quiet way, I would say. Christina Harrington. Hello, Christina, I know through my networking through ERP world, which never thought I'd say that I'm, delving into ERP, which is exciting. James Kunkel. Hello, James. Also manufacturing and does a podcast. And actually, James, I moved my time for my show because he has a show at noon as well. So just trying to find our place in the. Yeah, some really amazing people. And Christina is part of also a show on women in ERP. So yes, definitely should connect up with Christina and Sarah Scudder, who's going to be on as a guest on Friday with Damon and Kurt Anderson on their show. So yes, definitely the power of connecting online. So standing out online, that leads us into standing out online, which now Nathalie, you definitely stand out, but also in kind of your own quiet way, different than my standing out online at times. So tell us about how you are changing though to step into that spotlight and how a lot of people think selfies are like they're not of value, but I think they are of extreme value because I have met amazing people because I put my face out there and connect with people. What is your story about selfies?
Shout out to Rebecca Toza, who is a phenomenal photographer. She is amazing with what she does with photography, but also too, she actually did a selfie class called Making Standout Selfies, and also making standout selfies that also align with your brand. And so I was like, okay, I need to do something different. I don't necessarily like taking selfies, but let's challenge myself to do something different so I can start to live more of my brand. It's so interesting when I was working with Mako, and she was actually on the Lead Loudly Twitter chat a couple of weeks ago, and she was talking about, your niche and niching down and those type of things, and what do you want to be known for, and going completely down in that niche. And I thought I was a community builder, but I happen to be something else. And so creating those standout selfies and continuing to talk about the brand and leadership and those type of things really helped me take my brand further and actually decrease some of the challenges I had with taking selfies and also being seen on camera and film that we all have, dealing with that imposter syndrome as we all start something different.
It's probably one of the biggest issues, and I see this all the time in manufacturing, and I know you have a connection also. In fact, we were connected because of the manufacturing, or you've helped me connect with people in manufacturing, the opposite, because of our connection through the Twitter chat, and Jen Wegman, who I met for USA Manufacturing. Yeah, Jen, woo! So, so it was through you connected through that Twitter chat, and then that led me to so many people and opened up all sorts of doors in manufacturing. So it does make a difference when you can, and everybody has a different comfort level, but video is the way of the future as well. And one of the areas that I'm definitely supporting and working on is how can we incorporate more video, including the promo of you lip syncing, because that's a whole other world of, using TikTok, but
sure.
So congratulations to you for you did a lip sync and a video that's out there now. Like, that's amazing.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the challenge. I'm going to have to keep up with you and your dances. I'm going to need to take some practice. Get some practice.
Well, the good thing is, believe me, at times the bar is also, when it comes to TikTok, what I'm seeing is that, it's set a little low at times. So you could just jump in and, the more imperfect, the better people are doing when it's terms to connecting with people, because all of a sudden you pull back the facade, you pull back the mask, and people start seeing, who you really are. Sure. I'm someone who does like to, dance, and I've always loved doing this. So now I get to do this, and I'm just bringing it into the manufacturing world. And you know, I always said, you're not everybody's cup of tea, but I can be everybody's shot of tequila. So
I love it. I love that. You must put that in a meme. That is so amazing. And that's perfect for the queen of curiosity.
Good. So let's get back to lead loudly. And so we talked about your online, now transferable skills. Now I'm on my 5th career, but I know you've used a lot of your transferable skills. So let's talk about what are some of the transferable skills you've used, and maybe some tips for other people that instead of locking themselves down into, you know, one area, that they can use some previous skills.
Well, I think for me, and I was actually kind of pondering over this the last couple of days as I prepared for our conversation today. And one of them was leadership, but also being able to lead yourself while leading your team. And that's kind of a 2-prong kind of thing. I'm actually coming out of a best practice that I've been working on now for about 18 months with a team that I'm going to release probably the first of next year. And I really learned a lot pre-pandemic, but also during the pandemic. And as far as that, you can't do it by yourself. So you cannot lead by yourself. So the other day for Giving Tuesday, I actually posted something on LinkedIn as well as on Instagram about my mentors, my sponsors, as well as my allies. And I'm so grateful to them because they were the people that are continuing to get me through it. And they are just as much as part of my success as I am. So leadership and the ability to lead yourself while leading your team to create that high performance team as well. I would have to say leadership, and I would also have to say mentorship. Mentorship plays a huge part in my development, and also me continuing on to move forward with the Lead Loudly movement. You know, I'm so grateful to those mentors who caught the vision and continue to help us move forward. And also my colleagues, you know, that jump in and say, oh, yes, we'll help you spread the word. We'll help you, you know, we'll comment, you know, we'll say this, we'll say that, you know, we'll be guests on the Lead Loudly Twitter chat, you know, so all those things coming together. So I often think about Kelly Hoey's book about Build Your Dream Network. And one of my favorite pieces out of that book is talking about networking your ambition. So whatever I am ambitious about and whatever I want to be next, you know, it's all tied to people. It's all tied to relationships. So whether I build those relationships on Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, face-to-face, wherever, it does not matter. So I'm going to have to network my ambition. So leadership, mentorship, and networking my ambition would probably be the 3 transferable skills that I continue to hone and I continue to look back on through my career as I prepare for what's next.
Networking your ambition. Love that. Also, I see Christina Harrington dropped in, that imposter syndrome is something we all work on. Very true. That is definitely an issue that, and I actually was listening to a podcast of that, and they actually said people that are higher achieving and that have that are actually better at what they do have that often to a greater degree, right? Because I was just talking to Jeff Long yesterday that, you know, the curse of knowledge. Sometimes you think, well, everybody knows this. You think, why? And that he just posted something on LinkedIn about that. And I think that is something we struggle with, along with imposter syndrome, the curse of knowledge. We think that everybody knows it. And we always bring our own individual approach to things.
That's true.
Like you and I are different, yet we blend well together because of our differences too, right?
Yes.
That's also key.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's so critical when you're creating the culture for success, because as a leader, you have to determine what type of culture, what type of community, what type of engagement you want, because you're leading the charge. You're it. Everything begins and falls with you. As you know, one of my business professors used to tell me, the fish rots from the head down. So you tag, you're it.
Yes, that is true. And Christina is also, I love when people do this. They're dropping comments in that take nuggets, because obviously if this resonates with one person, it's probably other people as well. So Christina,
Awesome.
lead yourself while leading the team takes diligence and awareness. Great comment, Natalie. So
Thank you, Christina. Thank you.
Christina's, yeah, you have to meet Christina. In fact, Christina, you may even want to talk to Nathalie, because I mean, what you bring, Nathalie, is so valuable in terms of your leadership and your knowledge. And I want to ask about, because I did some research and I know you were talking on a podcast previously, you talked about, I mean, you have also looked at things from mentorship, not just female mentors, but also male mentors. Like you see it as a mentor is a mentor, I believe. And so you had a situation, maybe you could just give a condensed version of the queen bee syndrome that you ran into with someone, because I think that is in your life, because you know which one I listen. Because yeah, we assume sometimes that, well, we shouldn't assume, I guess. So I'll let you, maybe if you want to talk about that.
It was so interesting, Gail, and I remember like it was yesterday. And it's so interesting that you brought up that story, because as I was preparing last night, something just said, you need to talk about the queen bee syndrome story. And I'm like, don't know if I want to talk about that, but I know I need to. It was so interesting. I had two mentors that I had the ability to work with on several different projects. And one of the mentors was actually the supervisor to the other reporting mentor. And they decided that they were going to bring me on to a project. And I had sat with the person who was going to be my first report numerous years, watching her literally take over companies and organizations and you name it. Basically, I knew where the bodies were buried. And so when she interviewed me, I noticed that her personality and her behavior started to change. And at the interview, she said, "You're overqualified for this job." And I'm like, okay, but I'm still interested because I want to work with you two amazing ladies, because I know we can do some incredible things, because this had to do with a women's leadership project. And she said, "You're qualified for my job, not for this one." And I was really flabbergasted. And so when I left her office, I called my male advisor, and he said, "You don't understand what's happening." I said, "No, I don't have a clue." And he said, "You're no longer the mentee." He said, "You're now the competition." I was like, okay. So I went back to Sheryl Sandberg's book, Lean In, and I read the piece about the queen bee syndrome. And I was like, yes, that's exactly what's happening to me. I'm no longer the mentee. I'm now the competition. And interestingly enough, I had to really lean on my male mentors and advisors to kind of psychologically pull me through this, because it really hit me extremely hard, Gail, because I have known and trusted both of these women for decades. And to have that happen, I really had to work on my psyche and my mindset to keep going and to keep having a positive attitude towards her, because I could not allow that to ruin our relationship. So what I did was I started putting it into my presentations about leadership and women's leadership and lead loudly. And I started talking about queen bee syndrome and what does it look like when it shows up. But not only what does it look like, what do you do? And I think that's the next step, as knowing that you have a safe place to land, that you have mentors and advisors and allies that will help you get through it. And this is only a bump in the road. It's not the end.
Thank you for sharing more of that story.
Sure.
That is indeed powerful, because we need to sometimes look at leaders and bosses not only based on gender, but there is also, and I always believe, I say, it's what people do, not what they say.
Yes, that's so true.
I have been involved in situations where people say the right things, but they don't do them. And
yes.
And then I've also had people, they don't, so I always choose to say, what do they do? What is their actions? And I've been very privileged to have bosses, both male and female, that were phenomenal, that were did not ever feel threatened, and they lifted me up and encouraged me. And so that we need to encourage more of that and encourage women. Instead of seeing as competition, it's like pull someone up and have them join you on stage.
Yes.
It is.
True.
I think this is also about competition, that I always see competition as a good thing, not a negative thing. I think the more competition, because it makes us sharp. And it's about, do you believe that there's enough to go around? And I think if you don't believe that there is enough, that's when you run into those types of situations. And there is enough. Like, that's my belief. I do want to also do a shout out, because we have the wonderful Russ Hedge is in the house. Russ is talking about mindset and about positivity. He is someone who says, choose your own mindset in the midst of challenge is so important. Thank you.
Yes.
And he also said, great story. Thank you for sharing, which Russ, in all of his shows, which I don't know when he sleeps now, because I mean, he's out promoting his book. It's amazing. You have to,
congratulations.
So Russ.
Got to grab it.
He's got his book. He also has quite a few shows where he brings people on, where he's talking about all things about positivity and on a global basis. And again, I met Russ through, I think it was through the Global Tea Break. And for me, the pandemic really opened the doors for me to do more work globally from a manufacturing perspective, as well as personally. I've met people now globally, which I love. I love traveling the world. So one day, traveling the world again.
Absolutely.
We also have Nikki Gonzalez, who says, hey, I'm late, but happy to be here. Thank you, Nikki. That's
welcome,
great.
Nikki.
Never too late to join in a conversation with, I think you're making another latte. Can I have a double latte with extra cocoa, please? Tell them, put my order in, guys. It's like, you know what? I love chai latte. And I'll tell one funny story. My son always goes, you're not going to tell that story again. And it was, I used to say chai tea. And then a friend of mine who is from India said, when you ask for chai tea, you're asking for tea. So his chai means tea. So now I was saying, so yeah. So when my son listens to this, he'll roll his eyes and go, God, she's telling that story again.
I like those too. I like chai tea as well.
Yeah. So let's also talk about, we've been talking a bit about social media and about transferable skills. And let's do a shout out to the Lead Loudly Twitter chat. I do want, for anybody that, even though we're on the LinkedIn, now this is going live on Twitter right now as well. So hello, if anyone's listening on Twitter. I know Twitter has a very special place in my heart because I have met the most amazing people. It is a wonderful place for engaging, connecting. I don't know, Twitter, I always say is when you're on Twitter, whenever I see a company, an actor, an organization on Twitter, I always go, ooh, they're extra special. So like Ted Lasso is on, the show Ted Lasso is on Twitter. So
yes,
that's always my guide. Anything that I love, I always go, okay, if they're on Twitter, that's cool. So Lead Loudly, hashtag Lead Loudly. For people who want to understand, is there any tips you'd suggest about what you'd suggest from a Twitter chat perspective, joining Lead Loudly? What do you think for someone who's now going, I don't even know how to use Twitter. I don't even know any suggestions you'd make? No.
The easy suggestion that I would make, if you're joining a Twitter chat, to actually go to that person's profile, and under their profile, you will see the media piece. And if you click on the media piece, that will actually give you the questions in sequence as they appear. And then that will actually take away all of the other conversation. So if you're a beginner with the Twitter chat, if you go to that person's profile and then click on media, then that will take out all of the other noise and you can see the questions as they appear. So as you get a little braver and a little bit more advanced in your Twitter chat abilities, then you can actually go back to the regular view if you'd like. But I suggest for beginners with starting a Twitter chat, that's a great way to start, so you're not overwhelmed.
Well, I was today years old learning about that, and I've been on quite a few, but I usually do, because I guess when I'm on, I usually use the latest. I put in the hashtag up in the search, and then I follow latest, because if you put top, you get the most popular ones, whereas I always want to see when I'm in them. I guess it depends too, do you want to see, if you're in an actual chat, Like if I'm joining late, I usually go to latest. So I try to answer the most recent question or follow along. The other thing I will say about Twitter, if you're joining a Twitter chat as a user, the first thing is to just go on, follow the hashtag, kind of read it. And there's a lot of lurkers. So not everybody is necessarily participating. And if you're ever thinking about starting a Twitter chat, contact Nathalie. That's the best advice I would give as a consultant. It would be well worth some time and money to invest with Nathalie on how to set it up.
Well, thank you.
My first Twitter chat guesting role was with Nathalie, and thank God, because she made it seamless. She helped me with questions. It took all of the a little bit of the mystery out of it, and also made it flow so much easier, so I could actually do engagement when I'm guesting. And
fantastic.
And yes, and I'm her guest this week. So tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Come along.
We get to do it again.
Get to do it again, and we'll be talking about curiosity. But for anyone listening today and you want to join in, please come along tomorrow. So if you need any tips, I'll even help you between now and then if you want some
absolutely
hand-holding along there
as well. Absolutely. We're here to help you. Yes. And I'm thrilled that you said yes to your first Twitter chat, and Lead Louder was your first. And a lot of my guests, that is their first time guesting on a Twitter chat. And I absolutely love it because I love being first and I love winning. So, what better way?
Me too. Lovely. 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, just adding that in for anybody, because we do have people around the globe tuning in. So the one thing about live shows, and I've really learned to be very aware now of, especially I think since the pandemic, much more aware of, because when we have our global tea break, it's usually on Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, but that's like all different times. We have people on the West Coast, people in Europe and England and UK and worldwide. So,
absolutely.
So curiosity, what are some things, your thoughts on curiosity and how you use curiosity in your world?
For me, I feel like that curiosity plays a very interesting part in my world, on the leadership side, but also too on the technology side, because leadership and technology for me kind of blends together as far as getting my brand out there, and also coaching and consulting with high performance teams. Because if we haven't learned anything in this pandemic, leadership and technology are key. And it's getting faster and faster and faster. And I'm always curious by why people do things, from Simon Sinek, what's your why? And what do you want to do as a result of this why? You're the queen of curiosity. And so you want to drive innovation that drive results. So that's what you do. And that's the result that you want to bring, as a result of you embracing curiosity. So I guess from my strength finder, being the maximizer, I want to find all of those incredible people that their flame is lit, and I want to help them, fan the flames until it's a raging fire. That reminds me of my Beyonce gift that I love on Twitter, that you see me all the time, where she's walking on the sidewalk and she's hitting the sidewalk and the flame is just burning all over the place. So I want to set fires all over the world.
I love that gift. That is, whenever I see that anywhere, it is definitely identified with your brand of Beyonce. So we almost played a Beyonce song at the start, but I went with Pink. I do love Pink too. So it's great to see, even in music, right? More and more women that are, choosing leadership on their own terms as well. Because I know sometimes there's some controversy about, I remember the year that the Super Bowl, Shakira and what's her anyways, there was all the controversy about the hips and dancing, but I'm like, these are strong, powerful women, and why? Like, I'm always amazed at how the controversy, because I think they just have to find a controversy at every,
of course,
at every turn, right? To see.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
and I think sometimes.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I think sometimes we as women, we're our own worst enemy, because we're so critical of not only ourselves, but also other women. Let's support each other. Let's cheer for each other. Let's get in there. And because as we help others win, we win as well. We need to change the game on that. We really need to do better.
Thank you to Christina, Shakira, and J-Lo. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Christina, for bringing us that Shakira and J-Lo. Yes, that was, and because one of the things I love about your book title, Leading in Stilettos, right? Because sometimes there's a lot of judgment about, women, like how women are dressed, and I think we have to get over that.
It's so interesting. It was part of my play, and that's why play is so important to me as I coach, as I consult, as I lead teams. Because at 5 years old, I used to dress up in my mother's stilettos and my father's briefcase and pretended I was going off to work. So that's where the title of it came from, and how to lead in a male dominant society and keep your femininity. When I was 5 years old, I had the opportunity to attend my father's first Chamber of Commerce meeting with him right here in Marion, South Carolina, interesting enough, where I'm sitting right now. And I was the only female at the table. And so decades later, when I joined the Greater Chamber of Commerce in Columbia, South Carolina, I was one of the few women at the table. Decades had passed, but not much has changed for women's leadership. And it's my goal to continue to beat the drum, as we all do, to lead loudly and to go forth and make changes wherever we want to be. If it's in the C-suite, if it's being, a plumber, a welder, you name it, whatever it is that we want to design for ourselves, we need to be there, have representation, because we know we can do it.
That is so true. And I'm seeing that start to happen in manufacturing as well, seeing women.
Yes.
I mean, like Christina is doing the Women in ERP, and they have a great podcast, as I mentioned. And Christina said, "Amen, let's cheer for other women." Love that. And, it doesn't, a lot of times too, and I find men who get it have no issue with it because they don't see, again, it goes back to that. It's not competition. It's just, make room at the table. My mom used to say when anybody stopped in, you'd throw a couple extra potatoes in the pot. You just made room at the table for whoever. Like there was never like, oh, I don't have enough food. You just kind of made it work. And the key part, I think, is again, I've been so blessed having some great bosses, male bosses,
fantastic.
Amazing. In fact, I was in a breakout room once, and people were shocked that my experience with bosses has been so positive, because I guess not everybody has that. And so I count that as a great blessing, because each of them have helped encourage me, support me. And I've also had a couple of women bosses, one, not so much, but you know what, that has come around. And you know what, I also believe in that saying, because you talked about curiosity, be curious, not judgmental.
Yes, that's true.
And once you can embrace that, you start to really step back and say, why is someone like that woman that you dealt with? I mean, what in her past, obviously she must have gone through something that felt threatened by you, as opposed to like, I would see, like, does she not know who you are or how you operate? Because you would not at all want to push. You'd be like probably help elevate her even higher. Like you could have stepped in and helped her, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Jim Fuse is in the house as well.
Yay!
Hello, ladies.
Hello, Jim.
Yes. We both know Jim, also a Twitter
Absolutely.
Twitter friend
he was also a guest on Lead Loudly as well.
There we go. I'll have to go back and check. Did I miss that? That must have been, did I miss? Oh, no, I do remember. Yes. You know what? Sometimes there are a lot of chats and live shows I have to sort of go through and remember. So, well, we're going to start to wrap up, and I want to make sure I haven't forgot anything. Is there any stories that I haven't asked about that you want to share that you think is important, that for our people that are listening now, or maybe on the replay, maybe around manufacturing? Maybe we could talk about that, because I did mention that you would maybe touch base about manufacturing, since that is the world I work in, along with some work I do in mental health. But I like to stay in the M word, mental health, manufacturing, and I have another project. Oh, I have to think of
There you go. Absolutely. What made you interested in manufacturing? I come from the project management side of the world, and so it's interesting. My left-brainedness can kind of get me caught up between thinking about a project as far as the start date and end date and all the resources that have to go into it. But I'm a little interested in, how do you blend curiosity and manufacturing?
Oh, now you're interviewing me, are we?
Of course.
This is how you. This is whenever I have calls with Natalie too. It's always like she managed to just leave you, ask a question, but you get off the phone and go, "Huh? Why did she ask that? She asked that for a reason, right?" Well, actually, I got into manufacturing mainly through some networking, and a door got opened to meet with a president of a local mold making company. And that's how I got into mold making, and I went and met him. And at the time, I was wondering, exploring whether I might be. This was at my last job when I knew they were selling and started to look around. So I was starting to explore possibly working in that world, but ended up now they're my client as a consultant. But I found that the curiosity part is that I love learning something new, because each time you learn something new, that bar gets moved, right? So
Yes.
then I just found that it's an exciting world because there are so many untold stories. So opportunity, because of being a recovering journalist, I know a good story. And often what they say to me is that, well, I don't think that's anybody going to care. And then I post it, and then I stand back and they go, okay, that worked. Yeah. Stories are powerful. And that is, when I was in insurance, the same thing. I worked in insurance technology, and the same thing. They didn't see, because it's that curse of knowledge. People can't see things. And I'm a big, like you, I like to win. So there's lots of opportunity in manufacturing, and I'm bringing a whole different perspective that very few people bring to manufacturing. So again, not everybody will necessarily embrace it, but companies, Cavalier Tools, when I work with, they get it.
Yeah.
They want they want to stand out in the crowd. And I have to get the quote in from Damon Plastuka: "You want to be the red M&M in the bowl of green."
That's so true.
That's my long answer to how I got into manufacturing. It was because of there's so much to learn. So
yeah, that is so true. And
this.
it's so interesting how manufacturing also drives economic development. Because I can remember even as a child when my father would go to the industries, in our area, with the chamber, and they would take the tours and they would see, the raw materials all the way to the finished product. I was always fascinated by that, because this is what drives, our economy and our cities and our towns, and those type of things. And also, as we look at now, everything is made by a manufacturer somewhere, this solo cup, this plastic top, that's plastic injection molding. I have friends that work in that arena, and, our phones, my makeup case, all those things, everything almost that we touch is made in manufacturing, and help us understand, the why and the sustainability, and, the user, how the user uses it, and the branding piece, all those things are project management about leadership and branding.
Love it. And you do work at the college you're connected with. There's also a manufacturing aspect, right, as well?
Absolutely. My advisor, who's been my advisor for many years, that I absolutely love, he came from manufacturing into academia. And then he's on the entrepreneurship side now, but now he's taken over some provost responsibilities, and they're asking him to do some marketing around our manufacturing training for our college and universities. So because he's an economic development guru, so it goes back to the economic development side again, driving those results, driving what you want the end to be.
Yes, that is so important. And I know someone who might listen in on a replay, if she's not in the audience today, is Megan Zamba. Megan is, I see her in quite a few years, and she's doing a lot of work about encouraging girls. She's done an event at a high school where they're starting to now talk and make manufacturing more relatable, that it's not dirty, dark plants. It's actually, you can get into, from an engineering and design, you can start working on the plant floor. And even like for anybody that hasn't been on a shop floor recently, it's amazing how much is computerized, how much is done.
True.
It's not a lot of hands-on. And increasingly, because of automation, things are now starting to go, we're going to need people with thinking skills to be able to run
And because of robotics as well, because if you look at
Mhm.
what's happening in Amazon and the amount of robots that they use that actually circle the employees, it's amazing. If you look at the robotics that actually lift the molds in manufacturing, some of those molds are $1 million molds, so if you look at all of those things, from the engineering side to the robotics, you name it, there's all sorts of things now that's happening. And you're right, that is changing the face of how we do things.
And we're going to need, this is an area, and we've talked about this, and that'll probably be a show in the future I'll be having. We'll be looking at, how do we encourage change as well? I listened to a great podcast about change because people resist change, but change is, it can be so exciting when you embrace change.
That's so true.
And that's where I talk about, the sign up, suit up, and show up, because signing up is first the mindset. And then that's where you need to suit up, do your research, and then you can show up. And manufacturing has got so much opportunity. But you know what? Being in on this ground floor is so exciting to be bringing, a little bit more pizzazz and some singing and dancing into manufacturing too.
Sure, absolutely. As YouTube says, what do we learn next on YouTube?
Yes, indeed. Nikki Gonzalez has commented, who said, love that, be curious, not judgmental. I do want to give credit to Walt Whitman on that quote, but I actually heard about it on Ted Lasso's show. Highly recommend that show. If you're not watching it, it's great. She said she started going to meetings with her dad when she was a kid. It made her want to get into engineering business. And Nikki says Megan is doing great work, and we all have to tune in Friday to Megan's show because Nikki's going to be talking with her live on Friday.
Oh, so fantastic.
Nikki, that's great. Nikki, I think we're connected. If not, I'll for sure connect with you. And she said, embracing change is the only way to grow. Yes, yes, and yes.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I think we really are going to sign off. One last thing is, how do you exercise your curious brain?
I exercise my curious brain, Gail, by doing exactly what we're doing now, and that's having courageous conversation for people all over the globe, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's on LinkedIn, or whether it's on a live show with you. I am so thrilled to be here today. Thank you so much for the invitation, and thank you for being our guest tomorrow night on the Lead Loudly Twitter chat.
I'm excited. Oh, we have a giveaway too, don't we?
Yes, we do have a giveaway.
We can't forget about that. So now this is how live this is. We didn't even figure out what the rules and regulations are around this, but you have a giveaway. So
I
do you have any thoughts how you want to? Do we want to do it by random choosing of a comment?
No, the young lady that commented said that she went with her dad to meetings and now she's in business. She's now won the disruptor planner from Dr. I.
There you go, Nikki. Yay, Nikki. Okay, that is, you know what? I think that is a great way to do it. And that is so your style too.
Yes.
Because I think knowing the people that are on commenting so far, I bet you they would all celebrate that choice. And way to go, Nikki. There you go. You have won, and you can maybe pay it forward and talk about it with Megan and talk about it on your show Friday, The Disruptor. Yay.
Yes,
we need more disruptors in this world, don't we?
Absolutely. And that is my word, because I said on LinkedIn today that I would be revealing my word for 2022, and it is disrupt, to disrupt.
Yes, and you are doing that, and you have, so stay tuned. Follow Nathalie on Twitter and LinkedIn, because I know she's going to be also having some other announcements coming up in the new year, prior to the new year, or in the new year.
A little bit of both. We're going to be talking about mentorship, allyship, and sponsorship, and we're taking it to another level. We're planning to really disrupt it for real. So I'm excited about that, and I'm excited about, all of my colleagues and allies and sponsors and mentors that will be joining me for this.
Perfect. Thank you, Nathalie. This has been amazing. Gail. Every time I talk to you, it just lifts my spirits. I have so many ideas. I'm going to go back. Actually, a couple of things you said, I want to go back and I'm going to grab some notes down, because I love how you really connect the curiosity and innovation, which is so true, because innovation is a big part of manufacturing, right?
Yes.
They must innovate, and marketing And social media provide so many ways to disrupt and get people noticed. And I'm also on the board of Canadian Association of Mold Makers, and they put out a video. And one of the things we often talk about, we are the people that make things that make things.
Oh, wow.
And I love that, because that is, you know, mold making and automation.
Yes.
There is many steps in that supply chain that lead up to where we are. So, all right, well, we'll wrap up. And I think we're going to be taken out to we're going to be playing the respect song again. So everybody get up, dance, and let's join in some lip singing with RESPECT. Woo! All right. Well, we are back because I did want to say one final sign off. I'm going to, Nathalie, thank you. There are some treats in the green room for you. Thank you again for coming today. And I will see you back there in the green room.
Awesome.
To everyone else listening today, thank you for joining in. Nathalie was an amazing guest. Please connect with her on all of her social channels, but especially Twitter. Make sure you show up at Twitter. Tomorrow night, I am a guest on her Lead Loudly Twitter chat, so please stop by, say hello. Curiosity has been a big part of my life, and it did start with, as a child, leading right up into me going into journalism and exploring this wonderful world. And I really wanted to change the world on deadline. I'm continuing to do that. Now it just happens to be in manufacturing, hoping to change the world. And please join me and follow along in here on LinkedIn. I'm also quite active on Twitter, so join me there. And if you're on TikTok, stop by, say hello, comment on one of the videos. I'm just having a ball over there. It's been an interesting place to explore. And I hope that you can join in and start to also show up wherever you are at, because we need to share our stories. We need to be able to connect with people in real life as well as virtually. You can, also Instagram. I am on Instagram as GailNow1. And I think, and YouTube as well. So pretty much most social media channels, you can find me. I hope you'll stop by, say hello, leave some other comments in here today on whatever channel you are watching from. And please give a shout out to Nathalie. Thank her for leading loudly, because when she leads loudly, it helps us all to lead even louder. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Well, hello. Every gal needs a cowboy hat.
Scanning the room, you look for a familiar face. Everyone is a stranger. Your heart's racing, you feel nauseous. New plan. You meet 4 new people. Okay, 3. 2. You can handle 2. And then you think, I hate this. This just feels so fake. And before you talk to even 1 new person, you're looking for the nearest exit.
Okay. Crazy. Yo, who invited this chick?
My heart races when I walk into a room full of strangers too. Except it's not anxiety, it's excitement. I'm not thinking networking quota. I'm thinking, look at all these stories. And I get so pumped about talking to people that I don't know.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks! stinks!